On Netflix, I watched from 1984, Gremlins. And boy, are you guys gonna hate this video. Because I gotta tell you, I like this movie. I think it might be a bit overrated. I think people have the nostalgia goggles on, and it's blinding them to some truths. So, let's begin. Forgot the name of the lead character here, but I think the actor's name's Zach. Zach Galligan. So I'm gonna call him Zach. Anyways, lead guy, this guy Peltzer, he's an inventor. He's in Chinatown, looking for a cool gift for Christmas for his son, while also trying to sell some gadgets that he invented. Goes to this old wise man sort, and he's looking around his shop. Hears some singing. He's like, "Hey, what's that?" And they're like, "It's a mogwai." Lifts the cage up. There's this little adorable creature there. He's like, "Wow, I gotta have him. Gotta have the mogwai." All right, I'll give you $200 for him. He ends up giving the grandson of the guy $200, and he takes home the mogwai. And he goes to his kid. This is Zach, and he's like, "Hey, so you got to open this present right now." Opens it up. He's like, "What is it?" "Well, it's called a mogwai. There's some rules with it." Even the way that the rules were given to the guy, it doesn't really make too much sense. I guess the grandson told this guy, even though in the scene we saw him walking away, and then there's a voiceover explaining the rules of how to raise the mogwai. It says, like, the first rule, don't get it wet, don't feed it after midnight, it doesn't like bright light, sunlight can kill it. So they're saying this kind of stuff. Pretty simple rules, but let me say this. How does it biologically know it's after midnight? I can almost buy sunlight will kill it. You know, we've heard that shit with vampires before. Bright lights, sun, there's some kind of effect on living objects, right? Living organisms react to light in different ways. Humans gives you cancer. Flowers grow. Well, in what way, and what is actually defined as after midnight eating? And if it gets wet, that's incredibly volatile. Hell, even at the end of the movie, it's like Gizmo's being offered chicken soup. Contains water. What doesn't contain water? So you're telling me this thing can't drink? Like, did they really think this shit through? This is directed by Joe Dante, and he did The Howling, I believe. And there's this guy, and I forgot his goddamn name. I think his name's Dick. He was the gun shop owner in The Terminator. You know, from 1984 also. I swear, I think he's gonna die this month. Quote me on that. I'm pretty good at this death prediction stuff. But he has like a snow plow. He's like the town drunk. We have a bit of a Fast Times at Ridgemont High reunion. Phoebe Cates is the girlfriend of Zach, becomes the girlfriend during the movie. And Judge Reinhold is just kind of like stock douche who shows up for a brief bit. It's kind of surprising that nothing happens to him with the Gremlins. So they run across Corey Feldman. He drops some water on Gizmo, and this has him convoluting, convulsing, and then fur balls fly off. He multiplies. But these seem a little devious. They're not quite all right. And then they go and they trick Zach into getting some food after midnight. And he gets wind of this afterwards. He finds that his alarm clock was broken. And so they, having had food after midnight, they enter the pupil stage. They go into a cocoon. When they emerge, they're gremlins. Now, this movie is rated PG, and it's cited as being along with Temple of Doom, as being part of what caused the PG-13 classification, which, as you know, has led to the doom of the movie industry. Well, I'm not going to blame Gremlins on the doom of the movie industry, but yeah, there's some pretty hairy stuff that happens in here. There's quite a bit of death. There's this character, Mrs. Deagle, I think's her name. Spoiled old bitch in town with money. Goes to the bank, cuts in line, every line she utters is over the top. It's annoying. There's music that plays up the whole bit. It really feels out of place with the rest of the movie. I'm thinking people who hold this movie to Ghostbusters, to Back to the Future esteem, are maybe overlooking the botched comedy with Mrs. Deagle. But also, as far as this goes, she gets launched out of a chairlift that goes upstairs for disabled people. In her case, it's probably just lazy. So she gets launched out a window. The Gremlins, when they get out of their cocoons, they're evil, they're killing people, they're slashing people. She's a victim. Also, gunshot owner for Terminator, him and his, I guess, wife get mowed over by a snowplow. That's some pretty bleak shit right there. Did he deserve it? Oh, well, he's the town drunk. Oh, well, she was the evil person with money, the capitalist. More on that at the end. So, it's up to Zach, Phoebe Cates, who works everywhere, it seems. She seems to know the structure of the movie theater. She seems to know about bartending and working at the bank. Well, the Spike, or sorry, his name's Stripe here. Stripe is the leader of the Gremlins. He has a white mohawk. How he retained fur when everybody else lost it when they became a gremlin, don't know. But he seems to be the leader, the one bossing them around. He goes to the YMCA, gets himself in water, multiplies many gremlins there. And so these guys are running all over the town, causing all the chaos. At one point they go into a movie theater and they're enchanted by Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. And so they're watching that and they're having a good time, but Spike wanted to go get some candy. I guess they ate all the candy in the movie theater. He goes across the street, but oh no, Phoebe Cates is asked where the boiler room is. Says it's below one of the screens, the movie theater. Zach goes in there, causes an explosion, blows the whole place up, kills all the gremlins to save Stripe. So Stripe is over at this department store, and Phoebe Cates goes in there and she starts turning on all the stuff in the department store. I don't really know why, but I want you to keep an eye on something. There's a security area, there's a box that she pries open that has a lock on it. And she's working this lock. And it's a scene that you wouldn't typically see, you just see them opening it. But she's really fighting this thing, she could have cut her hands up here. But it shows a real struggle. And it's not something you typically see an actress do in a movie. Usually it'd be as simple as cut, lock get broke, cut away, maybe insert shot of the lock being broke. But no, the lock doesn't get broke. She just pries this thing off. I'm like, damn. So she manages to do that. And we have a scene here where Gizmo is trying to catch up with Stripe and save Zach, who is fighting Stripe. Stripe's using baseballs. He's throwing buzzsaws at him. All the kind of stuff you'd see at Sears. You guys heard of Sears, right? Well, depending on what year you're watching this, maybe you won't. Da-doon-doon. Well, Gizmo hops into a remote control car, drives it, and steers from within the car. Entirely impossible. There ain't a toy like that on the market now. There sure as hell wasn't in 1984. Oh, suspension disbelief. How? I mean, you're telling me there's these creatures, they have these rules that don't make sense. And Gizmo gets into this car and can steer and power it as though it has a gas pedal. Yeah, right. So, he's driving this thing around, he's trying to get in on the action. Stripe heads over to a fountain, and just as he's about to procreate here, it's daytime, and Gizmo launches himself up to this curtain, pulls down the blinds, I guess, and exposes Stripe to sunlight, and this melts Stripe. And it's a pretty cool melting effect. Not something you necessarily see these days, because they'd just be like, that's too much of a mess, do it in CGI. At the end of the movie, the Peltzer family's gathered for Christmas, and they have a guest. The Chinese man who had the mogwai comes and finds them. How he found them, I don't know. Does it make sense? Well, as he gets there, he sees on the TV all the carnage that the Gremlins have caused. And he's surprised by it. So it's like he just showed up and now it's like, what this? And then he gives a lecture about how Western society doesn't have responsibility. So that's why we had all these characters of Western society becoming the victims here. And he goes and picks up Gizmo, refunds the $200 and walks off with them. Oh, but he says, you know what, Zach, God, why can't I remember that character's name? Maybe someday you'll be responsible enough, you'll be ready to have a mogwai. Till then, he'll be waiting for you. And of course, there was Gremlins 2, the new batch, which I hadn't seen in 25 years or longer. I'm telling you, I like this movie. It's a 3 out of 4 star film. I'm just saying, your nostalgia goggles are on. I think the thing is this movie has going most for it. The main guy, he seems like a decent dude. He seems to not be any kind of stock character. He's having a tough time. He's the only person really earning money in his family. But he's a good son. And he doesn't have like some weird, odd, dark side. And also Phoebe Cates here. Simple character, but I like her story about how she doesn't like Christmas because her dad died dressed as Santa trying to surprise her. Fell in the chimney. I don't know how he fell and broke his neck and you didn't notice this. How'd he break his neck and get stuck in the chimney? I don't know. But you know, this is an interesting little backstory thing, something that sticks with you. Of course, the creature effects are strong. The creature designs. Gizmo is a seminal movie character. You know, he's only in 2 movies. Everybody knows what Gizmo looks like. People still name their pets Gizmo in inspiration of this movie. The mogwais look cool. Gremlins look cool. And the originality of those designs helped this movie quite a bit. I'm just telling you, maybe it's a bit overrated. Gremlins, again, 3 out of 4 stars.